Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Polygon Alpha podcast, where the Polygon community gathers insights from today's leaders in decentralized finance, Web3, and crypto. I'm your host, Justin Havens, aka Crypto Texan. Let's get started. On this episode of Polygon Alpha, we're joined by Alexander Guy from Zerion. Alexander, thanks for being here with us today. How's everything going?
It's going really well, Tex. I appreciate being here. This is not the first time we've had a pod conversation, and I really am thrilled to be talking to the Polygon community today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't have too many reoccurring guests on the show. Well, for this one specifically, because I did do the podcast for the Index Coop, and I think the only three guests that I've had for this one is you, Kane Warwick from Synthetics, and then Leighton Cusack from Pulled Together. All great, amazing people. And if you can't see here, I'm wearing a Zerion hoodie today in honor of this. Shout out to Bugov, who I caught up with in Bogota, for giving me this hoodie. So, yeah, Alexander, let's kind of just get started with your background and how did you end up in the Web3 space and more specifically at Zerion?
Yeah, sure. I have to say really quickly that I had massive FOMO the entire time everyone was in Bogota. So the fact that you even got some cool swag that I don't have is just really driving the spike in here. But yeah, so like I said, really happy to be here and speaking to you all about Zerion and about Polygon. It's just really a real pleasure to be a part of this. And my journey to Web3 is kind of I don't know, I guess it's a little bit circuitous. It definitely wasn't something that I've been in for my entire career or something like that, or for years and years. I guess you could call me a reformed Web2 kind of growth marketer. I spent bulk of my career in London and Paris, in various stages of startups, everything from startups that have been acquired and the opposite end of the spectrum, startups that have run out of money. So, to be honest, about 2 or 3 years ago, I was starting to feel kind of jaded, a little bit fatigued by the startup grind, and sort of thinking that actually there wasn't a whole lot of real innovation happening, and just kind of feeling in general, sort of maybe I needed to change. And around that time, I heard about, I guess I should say, for the bulk of my career, I'd been kind of aware of crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, but very naively, I kind of viewed them as I don't know, genres of startups, right? So it's oh yeah, you have your AI, cohort over here, you have your fintech cohort over here, you got your e-commerce over there, and yeah, over there somewhere there's the crypto community. And so I was aware of it, thought it was cool, thought it was interesting, didn't know if it was for me, especially early on, and naively kind of thought of it as just another cool thing that people are working on. And that meant that I wasn't smart enough to get involved in things I should have gotten involved in very early on the personal side. But it made me sort of, I guess, open to ultimately what happened 2 or 3 years ago, which is I was kind of looking for an entry point, I guess, into crypto. I'd started to read a little bit more about it. A couple of friends, I'm based in Paris, so a couple of friends of mine work at Ledger, and it sort of was becoming something that was interesting to me. And finally, the rabbit hole moment was I started getting really into SoRare, which, if you don't know, SoRare is this NFT meets fantasy football, fantasy soccer for the Americans. Basically it was whoa, okay, so I collected baseball cards and basketball cards as a kid. So there's a collector's mindset that it ticked that box. Many males our age, not just males, but many men our age, spent a lot of time playing fantasy sports or involved in fantasy sports as with my college friends and stuff like that. And so SoRare just immediately clicked for me. And the concepts of rarity and, things that are all this stuff about NFTs just immediately made sense. I wasn't, sort of I didn't really get early PFP projects and NFTs and digital art just wasn't really it's cool, and I'm not at all trying to say that it's not interesting, but it wasn't something that like pulled me in. But Sorare made a lot of sense on a lot of levels, and so started getting a really advanced. Started spending some time and money in Sorare. I quickly needed a place to manage then what became sort of like a diverse quote unquote crypto portfolio. Found Zerion as a tool to help me manage my portfolio and track kind of assets across different communities and different protocols and things I was starting to dabble in. And basically at that point I was like so hooked. I was like, I gotta like work in this space. I'm in. I've like swallowed every colored pill you can think of to like get into this space. I'm just obsessed by it. And so I started sort of bugging, I think is probably the best way, like the Zerion team and founders on Discord. And like eventually they were hiring a head of marketing and growth. And I basically just was like, please give me a shot. And I think if you asked Evgeny, our CEO now, like if he thought when he first got on the initial call with me whether or not it was going to work or like he was going to give me a go, I don't think he necessarily would have thought it would have worked. But now it's been a year and a half, and I guess in crypto land, that means I'm sort of a veteran these days. And I at least like I feel a little bit more comfortable talking about some of the key concepts and themes here. But it was a sort of a windy, circuitous route, but it really feels like I found the right spot. So it took a while to get there, but better late than never, I guess. And I guess we're early still. We're so early, right?
Yeah. I think that's so interesting. I feel like when, the whole Web3 space was really starting out before it was even called the Web3 space. I think you had like the technologists and people who were just like really interested in technology and cryptography that were hopping on board. Fast forward through DeFi summer, you get a lot of like DeFi focused people, or finance focused people, economists, and more technology focused people. And then like the NFT craze came along, and now you're starting to attract collectors and content creators and artists. And it's always interesting to see. And I keep thinking about like what's going to be like the next big thing to drive like the next, I guess, like subculture of people to this space. And I think it's really going to be gaming in my mind. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I guess I referenced it, but like I definitely have like a collector's mindset. But the other sort of thing I enjoy a lot is like world building, going deep into like, I don't know, I read a lot of like fantasy stuff where like it's a whole constructed, universe. And I think that people who are like that are gamers usually. I'm not such a hardcore gamer. I even as a kid, I wasn't. But I do totally agree with you that like the power to construct an entire universe. I mean, a good example is I was actually on Twitter the other night trying to figure out and wrap my head around Parallel. Do you know this like sci-fi game? I think DeFi Dad's pretty into it.
I was about to say, I see DeFi Dad tweet about it all the time, but I haven't dug into it.
So I was asking, and like it was crazy because I said like I need a primer. Like I feel like this is my thing, but I don't know where to start. And like this community was just like bombarding me with threads and videos and guides and all this kind of stuff. And I was thinking like, this is exactly like these kinds of use cases. What they allow is for like small groups of people to be like extremely passionate about this thing, help build the lore almost around it, especially if it's a DAO, you can like actually bring the community into the world creation itself, which a number of cool projects are doing, I think. And this like combination of then having like an in-game marketplace for stuff is like such a driver for like the community to grow and get like real momentum. Actually, it's weird because Sorare kind of has a lot of those same dynamics, right? Like people are fans of sports teams. And built into Sorare is like the competition element. It's the fandom. It's the fact that you can sell your own cards on the secondary market. It's the fact that then there's like this running auction at all time of players and stuff like that. And these kind of elements, I think, are real building blocks for adoption. And also the other thing, and this is, I think, a key thing that helped Sorare, but also helped a lot of gaming things, is I think many people are like me, which is like they were sort of looking for an entry point to like Web3, quote unquote, which is kind of challenging to find that, right? Root in. But like, oh, there's this one game that I like that I'm starting to understand and learn more about over time by using it. then like the rest of it opens up for you. And I think that gaming, because of the fact that it's like a smoother landing, perhaps like into Web3 than some other routes. It's a way to onboard a lot of people into the space. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and I think all this talk about gaming and onboarding new users, I think this also this helps us transition to the conversation about Zerion, because I do have the Zerion app on my phone, and the user interface and just the general user experience with the app is amazing. And I think that that's something a lot of people are focusing on in the bear market, which I would say that I'm a big UI UX maxi right now in the bear market. But another really important thing about Zerion, aside from how easy and smooth the interface is the fact that it's still maintaining the principles of the Web3 community in the sense that it is a self-custody wallet. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, just like the background of Zerion, why self-custody as a choice for a wallet is so important. And was that always on the roadmap, or was there a pivot at one point?
So Zerion as a company is actually, the founders are like definitely like OG kind of people in the Web3 crypto Ethereum broad community, like all those different buzzwordy things. But they've been around, like they started Zerion back in late 2016, early 2017, like the first like versions came out. And they kind of had this vision of like, especially at the time, there was this trend towards like unbanking yourself, like breaking free from the banks, like becoming your own bank, I think was one of our early like sort of taglines. But what we ultimately became like the first real version of Zerion that drove a lot of adoption and got a lot of users was effectively a portfolio tracker. The team built, I think, a really like best in class, one of the best portfolio trackers on the market. We had really, really strong adoption for things like real-time history, transaction history, which as your portfolio gets more complex, particularly in a multi-chain context, having a real-time history of what's going on was really important to people. Coming along with that were push notifications, both on the web and on your phone, which is, again, this like idea of like, usability and the fact that we wanted to create like a uniform experience for people to track their portfolios on the web app as well as on their mobile. We were one of the first DeFi projects to have an iOS app to get approved. And we've been, that was, I think the first version was approved in like 2018. So it's been quite a while for us. But I think that, so post portfolio tracker, the team quickly realized that, okay, so you've got your portfolio, but like seeing it isn't enough. You want to be able to do things with it. And so in 2019, we added swap functionality to the app. And one of the other sort of pain points that we wanted to address was the fact that it's kind of a pain to like hop around different dexes to make swaps and things, or obviously if you want to do it in your wallet, that's a whole other deal with MetaMask and things. But like basically they wanted to make it so you could swap directly within Zerion, and crucially to make it as cost effective as possible. So what we did was aggregate most of the major dexes, 0x, 1inch, Uniswap, SushiSwap, Paraswap, I'm forgetting one, but that's okay. Basically, like when you do a swap on Zerion, across any chain, by the way now, we'll scan all the available dexes and give you the cheapest trade possible every time. And so this was a core piece of trying to make like the Zerion app much more like dynamic, feature-rich, etc. And the next thing we wanted to do was to give like true multi-chain functionality. So we integrated a great project called Socket, and now we do the same thing for bridging. So you can bridge directly within Zerion from chain to chain, and we do the same thing. Socket basically provides an aggregator of all bridges, gives you the cheapest rate every time. And so like that was like, I guess, the next element to making this app a little bit more like about doing things versus just seeing things. And I guess like then from there we added NFT tracking functionality, only on Ethereum right now, although multi-chain, particularly Polygon, coming soon, I think, is safe to say. And so like we basically were trying to like, what started to come and emerge from these actions like independently was this vision, I think, of like, sort of one place for like everything, one place to explore all. And particularly within a self-custodial, you mentioned this word before, within a self-custodial environment, what we started to realize was it was pretty natural for us to move towards, the wallet and actually being a wallet. And so actually in June, end of May, early June this year, we didn't really launch a wallet. I think we actually became a wallet or like evolved into a wallet. And so like what now you can do is have like the same really excellent portfolio tracking capabilities, like all the same portfolio tracking functionality, but like do that within your wallet. And that combination of factors is, I think, a real important building block towards like, becoming, I think what's our real vision is to become the best wallet for like the most active Web3 citizens. The people using Web3 the most, the people who are here, people who believe in it, people who are sticking it out in the bear market, and still, doing things here. This is kind of who we're building for. And I think what the vision for Zerion is. And so like, it's kind of like been a long path, but I feel really good, and we feel really good about like the wallet as like the important place, 'cause I think, at the end of the day, like the wallet is like so core to your experience in Web3, right? Like exploring Web3 always involves interacting with your wallet, but the current like kind of options out there, I think a lot of times almost feel like a storage facility, like where you just throw a bunch of stuff and like you got boxes and, old stuff over here and some stuff you forgot about over there. And then, you have to like go and get the key and open it up. And it's like, where is anything and stuff like that. And we want to make a much more dynamic experience for people to use for their wallets. Like we want to make a wallet that actually feels like it should feel, I guess, is I think the real vision.
Yeah, that makes sense. And to comment on what you said about people just finding assets that they may have forgotten about that are in different apps and or just on different blockchains. Yeah, I mean, when I first downloaded Zerion onto my phone and I connected everything, and I think this concept like might sound crazy to people who aren't like native Web3, but like in the depths of the bull run in DeFi summer, you were trying out everything, and I definitely found like a material amount of money that I had just like forgotten about that were left on other chains. And the fact that Zerion just kind of like floats all this to the top in this awesome user interface is really funny. And I think this also speaks to the type of DeFi degen that I really am. But
also our team, like honestly, like they very much valued this kind of idea. Is it like, you should be able to just see and track all your stuff in one place. It seems sort of like, maybe not counter. Maybe it seems so obvious that somebody who's like just coming to this space now is like, yeah, of course you do. But it's not actually been the case. A lot of things are manual. A lot of things are spread out. And our belief is that like as Web3 becomes more complex, this problem is only going to compound. Like this like you have multiple wallets doing different things oftentimes. You've got hardware wallets where some stuff is, you've got hot wallets where you've got other stuff. The opportunity for things to get lost or confused is like pretty high actually. And so that's kind of what we're trying to solve, I think.
Yeah, and you also mentioned, you want to build a wallet that's for Web3 citizens, and you kind of went into who those citizens are, basically the people who are still here, the builders and the people who are still here working in the bear market in the Web3 space right now. But I also feel like that's also a place where MetaMask positions itself. It's kind of like, MetaMask is like the OG wallet, I think, from a DeFi standpoint, or just like an Ethereum standpoint in general. And on that note, there is a lot of competition out there when it comes to Web3 wallets. And, you've heard of like the Curve Wars, and there's like the Chi Wars on Polygon. There's the Floor DAO Wars. Are there like wallet wars as well? Is that a thing? And like how do you really differentiate yourself from the competition there?
It's a super juicy question. I'm actually I like that phrase. Somebody said that to me on a podcast the other day, and I like it. So it is a juicy question.
I like it too. That's a good one.
The short answer is like there's absolutely a a war going on. But to be honest with you, I think it's more like the empire, versus the rebels here at this stage. In that there's a lot of really interesting small bands of people trying to attack the sort of hegemonic default in this case. MetaMask does a lot of things really well. And I do not want to suggest that that people shouldn't use MetaMask. What I think we want to say is, and the way we try to differentiate is, MetaMask is vulnerable in a number of different areas, and we can kind of group them into like probably UX UI, which is a meaty topic in and of itself. It's not just like how it looks. It's not design. When people hear that, they're like, oh, you just want to build a better looking wallet. That's not really what we mean. So we can talk about that and unpack it a bit. But the other bit is that, especially for people in this space a lot, MetaMask doesn't really offer you anything by way of insights, alpha, social cues. Like, there's not a whole lot of ways for you to like get stuff from MetaMask. You know what I mean? Like, get insights or get any. Oh, hey, maybe you want to do this sort of thing. Maybe that's an idea you want to try out. Maybe that's a protocol you want to explore. Or maybe that's an NFT collection you might want to collect. It doesn't give you anything by way of like cues about where to go. That's why I say it's kind of more like a storage facility. Like, it's a place where stuff is, not where you like think, oh, hey, maybe that's somewhere I want to head. And so like on that particular use case, we actually have already had this kind of idea for a little while, which is basically like you can watch anyone's wallet in Zerion already. So like you have your own portfolio, which can be made up of multiple wallets nested, kind of on top of each other or next to each other, I guess. And you can also watch people's wallets. So not only can you see like what, I don't know, Stanny's wallet, what his public wallet or his like known wallet, Stanny.eth or Stanny.lens, whatever he's using these days. You can see like what he owns, what he holds. You get notifications when he does certain things. And, this is a pretty trivial example because he's so known and like trusted. But there's a lot of like whales out there who legitimately make interesting, do interesting things. And in Zerion, you can actually get notified, that so-and-so wallet that you're watching has done a certain action. And then directly within our app, you can go and act on that information. Directly within our wallet, you can act on that information. And this is like the most basic of social cues and social use cases. Like we talk a lot about, Kenny and I talked a lot about sort of like your own trusted like investment community, like these people who you trust, who are doing interesting things, you might value their opinions, and then like go and act on that behavior. And that's already, I think, like a real improvement off of the experience you get with MetaMask, which is very like static. It's just not dynamic. On the UX and UI side, the design and usability, portability, the fact that on your phone, you're going to have the same experience and the same app that you do on your desktop or in your extension. Like, this is already a place where MetaMask isn't very good, right? Like, there's functionality that isn't consistent across each of these things. And our vision is to make a unified experience across any device that gives people, real command of their portfolios. The other thing that on the UX side, beyond the design and functionality, is trust and security. I think that it's pretty obvious that MetaMask lets people down in these areas in a lot of ways. How many times have you heard stories about people sending stuff to the wrong chain because they weren't on the right network or the wallet was connected to this thing? And, that's a really basic thing, but it's pretty obvious there's got to be ways for us to make, the wallet a little bit more like secure, a little bit more trustful. Another, I guess moment that's important for us to work towards is like securing the transaction itself. We're thinking about, it's not there yet, but we're thinking about a lot of ways in our roadmap to like make this transaction, like to be able to trust that transaction, particularly in a mobile context. Like, I'm going to sign something. Hey, this is a smart contract that you've interacted with before. So like, yep, should be all set for you to sign this transaction very quickly. Like, this isn't a fake thing. You're not getting scammed. Or, hey, this is an obvious smart contract. You don't have to worry about this. It's audited. It's verified. Like, you can go and do this trade. Things like this that I think, especially on mobile, are really lacking right now. And it's one of the reasons why I think most people don't do transactions on their mobile device at all, because it's like, it feels less secure. It feels riskier. It feels scarier. And so we're trying to, like, I think across those key areas, differentiate its key aspects of our roadmap coming up. I think there's a lot of basic usability things, not just with MetaMask, but with all wallets. There's some problems. Multi-chain is clearly an issue. It's such a pain to have to switch back and forth between networks. Every time you want to do anything, even accessing the dApp, to have to go, oh, you're not on the right network. You got to switch from Optimism to Ethereum. This sort of stuff is just like, it's like real no-brainer things that I honestly think are like 10x improvement from a usability perspective. And the key thing, and this is to get back to Web3 citizens, the people who feel these pains aren't new. If you're new, you're like, oh, this is the wallet I'm supposed to download. This is how it's supposed to be. Okay, I've got MetaMask, boom, you're fine. But the people who are here, who are active, who are trading, they feel these pains because they're like, oh, again, I got to do this thing, or oh no, like this feels like a funky, smart. I don't want to sign this transaction. What am I doing here? They're the ones that have heard the stories about hacks. They're the ones that have been, rugged themselves. Like there's a lot of these things that people who have only been here and are active will understand our problems. So I think that's kind of who we're building for. We want to build a better wallet for those people.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I also want to bring up a news article that I've seen recently. I think this was released about 8 days ago. And it's from Fortune. And it says Zerion wants to beef up its wallet with a $12.3 million fundraise and take on MetaMask. What can you tell us about this $12.3 million funding round for Zerion?
I think that realistically, what we want to do requires investment on the people front. It also requires roadmap to build out some of these features to execute on that roadmap. And so we were fortunate enough to be partnering with some really excellent sort of investors in the space. But I think the critical partner that we found here was actually Wintermute, who is becoming more active in their venture arm and becoming more engaged in this sense. And they really bought into our vision for what wallets should be. And so when we found Wintermute as a key partner and sort of completed the round with some both existing investors doubling down as well as some new entrants, including like Coinbase Ventures and who's there, Lightspeed. We have some major investors kind of backing the project. And the combination of them matching our vision and what we wanted to build, plus the fact that we would be able to extend a roadmap and kind of have the time to go out and build it, was really the sort of ceiling factor for us and the main thing that I think pushed us over the edge. I guess Alchemy Ventures also participated. So some not just VCs, but real active Web3 kind of companies and Web3 Web3 personas were participating. It was a really exciting group of people that we were able to bring together for the round, and so we were happy to be able to announce it.
Yeah, I think Wintermute's a great partner. They're a great market maker in the space. They're a great voice in the space. They did have that little exploit that happened a while back, but that stuff happens. I mean, that just shows more than anything that they're Web3 native.
Yeah, actually, we were really. If anything, I mean, to be fair, the round was already closed by then, but we were actually really impressed with the way that they handled all of the communication about it. I think that, some of these exploits that you've seen recently with no communication or the team is working on it, we'll get back to you, this kind of stuff. It's really isn't very, transparent, isn't very open, and the Wintermute team, from their CEO Evgeny all the way on down to a lot of their team, they were openly communicating. They communicated with the hacker directly, and attempted to regain the funds in exchange for basically a white hat, turn it into a white hat activity. They were very, very, very proactive from the beginning about communicating what was affected and what wasn't, and I actually think it was a really impressive way to sort of handle a really challenging situation. So, if anything, I think that sort of made us feel okay, they know what they're doing. A lot of protocols, there's a lot of threats out there. And so the way you respond to a crisis, I think is a lot of value. And we were really impressed with the way that the Wintermute team handled that. So.
Yeah, I was too personally, and just kind of looking down the roadmap for Zerion. So I have a ledger that I use for, because I bought my ledger in like 2017 and I still have the same one. I've got some upgrades, but it's just, and then I also use just like a web browser interface pretty frequently as well. Is that on the roadmap anywhere? Like, do you have a browser interface where you can execute transactions through an RPC network? And are there any plans to integrate Ledger or other hardware wallets in the future, or have you done that already?
So Ledger is already integrated into Zerion. You can actually connect via Bluetooth on your phone, which is pretty neat. There's a video that we made, honestly, I think maybe 3 years ago, our head of product, Andre, just showing this happening, But so Ledger has actually been a key partner for us for a while. We were one of the first wallets and portfolio trackers in their Ledger Live app. We have a really close relationship with the team and have worked closely with them. You can actually connect your Ledger wallet to Zerion just like the portfolio tracker, so you can view your Ledger wallet alongside any of your other wallets in your portfolio right now, and that's through the web app. To answer your other question on the sort of browser side, we kind of think that I'm going to give away some alpha here. We're definitely working on an extension. It's pretty imminent, and the reason is that I think that to truly be the sort of best wallet for Web3 citizens, we have to be able to be everywhere, as I said, that they are using the service. So we targeted mobile first with our wallet launch because of the fact that mobile wallets are a little insufficient by our estimation. Also, it's where our team is quite strong, so we really kind of doubled down on that area. But we always knew that we wanted to build an extension, and it's coming. I can't say when or exactly when, but it's definitely imminent. I've seen it. I've seen people demo it. I've seen more than just designs. It's definitely a major project for us, and we're going to be excited to fully launch it. So there's a little bit of alpha for the podcast community out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think if you're going to be the wallet for, the Web3 native, yeah, you definitely need to have that hardware wallet integration and then probably a browser extension as well. So y'all are talking the talk. Another question I had, when I'm using the app, right, I have the ability to execute a swap on that application. Where is that swap routing to? Is it just, is it using 0x to find the most efficient route? Is it going to Uniswap v3 specifically? How do you determine that?
We basically, in terms of the technical elements, I'm not necessarily the best person at Zerion to talk through, but basically there's a little animation that does it. But you go to try to execute a trade, and before you even done the trade itself, we've already conducted a scan of 0x, pilot Paraswap, 1inch. I mean, it depends on which chain you're on, which chains support which tokens and things like that. Obviously, if you go to Optimism, you're limited in terms of which dexes you can use. But basically, we will scan any available dex and just immediately present it to you. And if you don't complete the transaction, if you just leave it there on the swap screen, it will actually change it after a while if it senses that there's a cheaper trade out there to be had. So it's pretty wild actually. If you I don't know, get up and leave the room for a second, you can actually get a different quote than when you left the room if you didn't complete the trade immediately. And so yeah, we work with. I'm forgetting one. I know I am, and I'm so sorry to the team. But it's 0x, 1inch, Paraswap, Uniswap, SushiSwap, Hashflow. Hashflow was the one I was forgetting, which is a real shame because we love Varun and the team there. But yeah, we basically our whole thing is, and this is actually speaking to getting back to Web3 citizens, is builders, creators, traders in this space, they know how to find good quotes. They know this stuff. But especially as the pool of Web3 enthusiasts, Web3 fans, Web3 users maybe is just a better way to think about it, as they come in through weird alternative routes into the space like me and SoRare, it's I don't know that there's how to go and find the cheapest deal. I'm just getting somebody told me Uniswap was the best one, and so I went to Uniswap, And so actually it's a feature for us, I think, is a lot about increasing the ability for maybe not, definitely not new people, but basically increasing the ability, making it easier for everybody to get good insight, good deals, good the best options for that. So like when we built it, I think that's kind of one of the reasons why we had it in mind. It's like, the most experienced, the pros, like they know how to do this stuff. But like, people who are even relatively new or even consider themselves to be experienced, like maybe they don't know all that stuff. So it's I think a lot about like increasing the floor for everybody, in terms of like education and stuff.
Yeah. So it sounds like an aggregator of DEX aggregators is what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's not a very sexy term, but we like talk about aggregator of aggregators a lot, especially when you include the bridge in there too. So it's like, okay, so we're an aggregator of aggregators plus bridge aggregator, which is really, really unsexy.
Yeah. Well, another thing I thought would also be interesting that I haven't seen a lot of wallets implement would be like a borrowing and lending function within there as well. Is that anywhere on y'all's roadmap, or just maybe just in general? What else is on y'all's roadmap as it comes to like DeFi integration specifically?
On the DeFi side, we like right now our big focus. This isn't DeFi. I'm sorry, but our big focus is the multi-chain NFT functionality. It's a big thing for us. We really think if we want to deliver on this vision of like every asset, every chain, every device, which is something we kind of like a mission statement or a calling card, unifying call to arms or something like that. We need to be able to like deliver on the multi-chain NFT piece. We also are really, really, really trying to increase our level of sophistication related to multi-chain like transaction history. No one really actually does this quite well at the moment, like in one place. Like a lot of people do Ethereum transaction history well, but we really want to be one of the first to like really hit and nail like any chain transaction history, which is pretty exciting. The other thing that we're also is pretty imminent in terms of release is, and this is also a little bit of alpha, is like we are integrating in mobile a dApp browser. So like the ability to like go to different dApps directly within your wallet and do different things. Like you can imagine going to LooksRare, floor sweeping a bit, and like then having it be directly in your wallet. One of the really cool things, this is again like pretty big alpha, but whatever. This is Web3. We don't have traditional like product release roadmaps anymore. One of the cool things you can do is if you have multiple wallets within Zerion, you can like switch back and forth in like a click or two between those wallets. So like you're in LooksRare and you can just like click or Rarible or, a couple of the dApps I'm thinking of that I've actually tested out. You can actually just like click in between your wallets, like from there, from the dApp browser, and you just then switch to the right wallet. So if you have like an NFTs, wallet or like a DJing wallet, you can just like do that within the dApp itself in the dApp browser, which is pretty neat stuff. I think it's a really excellent addition to the family of features we have from Zerion. I'm trying to think of some other stuff on the roadmap that's exciting, because we've got basically like the way we are trying to think about it is like we want to make this experience really fantastic for people who are like really active here. So we've targeted like the transaction, as I said, as like a key moment. All assets trying to be a key moment. But in terms of borrowing and lending, I don't think it's something that we're exploring. You can stake directly within Zerion. That's been true for a while. So like, across a number of different, like it'll tell you the staking opportunities that you might have. So you can, track your staking and rewards and stuff like that. But I think that our big focus is on a lot of these sort of broader Web3 use cases at the moment versus going deep down the DeFi rabbit holes for the most part. Now, I will say we're actively adding protocols in terms of tracking and trading all the time. We also are on 10 chains currently, including Ethereum. And so those include some of the main ones that you can think of, but we also are actively trying to find, the new chains to support. I saw, obviously ZK EVM, like maybe that's, I don't know for sure if that's on our roadmap, but it should be. So we already are on Polygon POS, and we definitely want to move towards, I think, being more integrated in the Polygon ecosystem more broadly. So like that's a no-brainer, I think, probably in the long run. For us, I think like it's really important that the people who are like we go where these active systems are. So like for example, if Polygon is very attractive to us, one of the reasons why I think we'll prioritize it in terms of multi-chain NFTs is because, well, Polygon has a super robust, active, engaged NFT community. And so like if lots of things are happening on Polygon from that perspective, like we clearly want to make sure we accommodate that use case. Similarly, Gnosis is really exciting to us. Gnosis Chain is really exciting to us because POAP. People use POAPs. They're a fantastic part of our ecosystem. And right now, actually, POAPs are like so poorly tracked, like in terms of your wallet. Like people like connect somewhere and they're like, oh my God, I have like 50 POAPs. And like, I didn't even know I had all these POAPs, and stuff like that. It's like, it's another one of these examples where we're just trying to make like the behaviors and use cases that people in the community, have the most, that we accommodate that use case. Also, really quickly, I just want to add, I had a brain fart a second ago. Lightspeed is not participating in our round. They didn't participate in our round. I was thinking of polymorphic. That's what I was thinking. So just a quick caveat to add there. Just want to make sure I'm accurate. I was thinking about it a second ago. And it was wrong.
That's okay. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, and on your comment in regards to the ZK EVM, we knew that we were going to get like a lot of positive feedback on the ZK EVM, and there's going to be a lot of excitement around it. But I think we didn't anticipate how much excitement there was going to be around the ZK EVM. It's overwhelming, actually, and so that's something that we're really excited about. And I think that wallets like Zerion is just going to help. You're building it for Web3 citizens, but you're also like just like the innovations I'm seeing on the UI UX side from wallets like Zerion. I don't think there's a lot of people doing it quite like Zerion. I did interview last week a wallet called Giddy Up, or no, it's called Giddy. I just keep saying Giddy Up because I'm from Texas. I don't know. That's on brand. So, and it's just like, I think that there's a lot of very unique UI UX problems that need to be solved, and the ones who are at the forefront of really trying to make those changes from a technological standpoint and just like a usability standpoint are the wallets. Like the wallets are the front line of what makes Web3 functional to like grandmas and grandpas. And that's kind of the thing. Like when I talk to people about Web3, and sometimes I just say, look, like we're not building this for grandma to submit a transaction on on MetaMask. But then I talked to some of the wallet providers, and they say, actually, we're trying to build this for grandma. Like that's their goal. And that's just kind of the mindset. It's two different mindsets within the space that are converging together to make just a very, very robust ecosystem for everyone.
Yeah, I actually think that, I don't want to say that we're like not building for the grandmas, I just hope that like one day the grandmas get sophisticated enough that they're like, oh, Zerion's the no-brainer. Like I think that's probably like, the way that I want to think about it. What I mean is to say that like the people who are active here, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but like the people who are most active here are the ones that have the most skin in the game, i.e. the most risk. And they're the ones that have experienced maybe like literally having, something go wrong or being lost or missing an opportunity. They're the ones that feel the FOMO the hardest. They're the ones that are looking for the most insights and actions and stuff like that. And so like, I think that's kind of our focus is like, we want to build the better wallet for people who are like committed here now, and like, ultimately, I believe fundamentally that like the group of like Web3 citizens will continue to grow, over time. And more people will become more educated. But like I've said this quite a lot, and like I'm not dismissing it, but like I don't need to like if somebody doesn't know like what gas is, like I don't think Zerion's wallet is necessarily for them. Like we're trying to provide like a more premium experience. I think maybe premium is a bad word, but like we're trying to provide a service for people that like really like have kind of got a higher level of understanding about what's going on in the space and are looking to like ramp it up a bit, I think is probably a good way to put it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And, with all of this focus and with this raise and hiring new people, I think the next question I need to ask is, how does Zerion make its money? Because it's a free app to use and it's incredible, but there's got to be a revenue driver somewhere, right?
Yes. So first, we've taken positive slippage for a long time and as like a revenue source, and it's something that is increasingly it's a pretty small amount, as you can imagine. It's not enough on its own. So two things we've done recently: we have instituted fees on swaps. much lower than the competition, but there is a marginal swap fee now on top of the gas and the DEX fee. But there's two caveats there. The first is if you are a Zerion Genesis NFT holder, which I don't know what the floor is now, but you can go and buy them on OpenSea if you don't already have them. You can actually get that fee waived entirely. We basically then collect some royalty fees from OpenSea and Rarible and stuff in terms of the sales, but like you can go and get them to qualify for like a fee waiver basically. And the other thing is this money isn't going towards like Zerion's operating expenses, I guess, or even our salaries and profit lines and stuff. It's actually going into a multi-sig and is kind of like a first step towards like a decentralization. We've sort of like actually communicated it this way. It's like the fees are being collected as kind of like a opening salvo into like this path towards decentralization. And so like the fees are a key piece of our business model. But I do think there's two pretty big caveats there. So if you're interested and you want to get feeless quote unquote trading other than the DEX fee and the gas, you can just go and buy a Zerion Genesis NFT. They're still pretty affordable on OpenSea and the secondary market. The other thing and the third element that we're really exploring a lot is Zerion has a pretty robust API and it's used by a number of different big projects. And we basically are starting to, I think, turn towards making that something that we can monetize. And we're interested in trying to explore the API as a route to stabilizing our revenue stream and like solidifying our business model. So those three things are kind of how I guess we make money at the moment.
Yeah, and the wallet decentralization, you're saying it's not alpha, but it's news to me. I think that's really, really interesting. And I also was not aware of the NFT that saves you some money on the transactions.
I can tweet it out. It's it'll give you like a cool little you get a cool little star in your Zerion web app, actually in your wallet too. It's like a cool little star. It's like, hey, this is you could trade feeless trading or zero Zerion fee trading with this NFT.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the way we communicated it kind of from a while is like we didn't want to hide from like the fees. Like we're a business. We're trying to make something that lasts. We need to solidify our the structure underneath us. But what we also wanted to communicate, and it's very true and core to what we ultimately I think are working towards, which is like we also think that an element of decentralization, a piece of decentralization is kind of key to what we want to try to build. So it's how we communicated it when we introduced it. First, we did it on multi-chain fees, and then pretty recently we updated it to include Ethereum swaps as well. So it was initially just multi-chain, but now it's on Ethereum as well. But these days, the reason we didn't do it initially was like gas is so exploitive, like on Ethereum, like we don't want to like price people out. But now these days, gas is so low on Ethereum, it didn't make much difference. I don't think to be on Ethereum or on another chain.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we are running up on time a little bit, but I also wanted to mention that I do have a Zerion NFT, and it's the Zerion DNA. So wondering if you could talk about that a little bit, and then we can probably do some closing comments and head out.
So a key piece in this like dynamic wallet equation for us, and I don't think we're the only ones thinking about this, but is identity. And we really believe, and this is like I think a key jump from some other wallets out there, is like we just think like the actions, the behaviors you do with your wallet, the assets you hold, the collections you're a part of, the NFTs you trade, all this stuff kind of these on-chain behaviors kind of combine to form like your on-chain identity, for lack of a better term. And what we wanted to try to do was give Zerion wallet users the ability to kind of visually represent their on-chain kind of persona. And this is like kind of this core of an idea was where Zerion DNA was born. And so right now, if you go and download the Zerion app on Android or iOS, you basically get prompted within the NFTs tab to claim your Zerion DNA. and it's a free mint. So whatever gas cost is, minus the gas, it's a free mint. There's no charge for it. But basically, what this NFT is going to do is it's a generative NFT, also sometimes called a living NFT. And so every time you make a transaction, the networks and chains you use, the amount of money in your wallet, the fees you pay in terms of gas fees, all there's 6 attributes, and they basically all contribute to a different way that the DNA will look. And so over time, your DNA will change and become more advanced, more rare, based on the things you do within your wallet. And the 6 attributes that we have now, I should say, are pretty much we want, I think, to probably add other attributes. So maybe for more advanced options, I think in a lot of ways we really love the DNA as a concept, and so we're looking for ways to kind of double down on the idea. But basically for us, we just think that users deserve a way to visually represent the kinds of things they're doing. And so, for example, if a user is very active on Polygon and uses the Polygon ecosystem quite a lot, their DNA is going to be very purple. So actually, you mentioned my colleague Booga earlier, and Booga's DNA is very, very, very purple because he's super active in the Polygon ecosystem. And so, the idea here is that what we want is to have people give people the ability to express themselves, express their on chain identities in a visual format. I guess the only other way to do that would be to go to Etherscan or go know their wallet address and track it in Zerion or something like that. But we wanted to make it a little bit more social and a little bit more about externally communicating who you are and what kind of things you are interested in. So it's still a new project. I mean, it came out when we launched the wallet in June, so it's still not even been 6 months or barely 6 months, getting close to 6 months, I should say. But it's been an interesting experiment for us. I think it's something we're going to continue to try to innovate around because the core of the idea is so cool.
Yeah, I do love it. Yeah, it's so cool to have a dynamic NFT avatar within my wallet that changes the more transactions that I complete on a specific network. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of purple on my avatar because I work at Polygon. Yeah. I could get doxxed like this, right? This could get me in trouble if I wasn't on Polygon all the time. Well, yeah, Alexander, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming on again. It's always great to catch up with you and your team whenever we're at conferences.
Yeah. I got cross paths with you in real life, man. I missed out on DevCon, missed out on Seoul as well. I wasn't there.
Oh yeah, Seoul was fun too. That was a good one. But yeah, as we're closing out, we'll just, where can people go to find out more about you, Alexander, and Zerion?
So you can find me on Twitter. My handle is down here, but it's for anyone listening. It's Alexander W Guy 19. Apologize for the length. When I was making it 10 years ago, it just seemed like the right way to do it. Maybe it's due for a refresh, but that's where you can find me for now. And you can find out more about Zerion at Zerion.io or on our website, or you can follow us on Twitter at Zerion _IO.
Amazing. Go check out the wallet, everybody. And for those of you listening, thank you for listening. For those of you watching on Polygon TV on YouTube, thank you for doing that as well. Please subscribe, check out Zerion, follow Alex on Twitter, and we'll catch you all next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.